and now we're live. Okay, so we're here now. So for people who missed out, you missed an intro where I basically just sang the praises of my Knicks, and of course I sang the praises of my guests, and we were talking about where are we going as far as this collector space, movie space, just where. So I'm gonna turn it back over to my guest. This is Chris, the bearded film guy. So this is gonna be the most awful start to a live stream ever. But go ahead, Chris.
um no, I was just saying how much I love this stuff, and I made this my whole world, and I try to preach learning about movies that you love, whether it's through bonus features or research or whatever else that you're doing. I'm not the biggest fan of the kind of re-release of Steelbook era that we're in, where companies can just put out the same Steelbook or different Steelbook art, but with the same discs over and over and over again and charge max amount of money and don't put any new effort into it. I don't think that helps the community as a whole. I think that's just a cash grab. And I hope that's not the direction that we continue heading in. But I think honestly, man, we got to give ourselves credit. Like, we forced a lot of companies to really raise the bar and make sure they're putting out quality, and make sure they're very aware of our expectations. And when they're not hitting it, we're very vocal about it. And I think that's the best thing we could have done.
Yeah, you talked about the re-release steelbooks. So one of my biggest things is not necessarily re-releasing the steelbook. So I'm totally with you there, but the artificial scarcity that that companies are doing,
Mhm.
where for instance, like I don't know if you can tell over my shoulder, there's a Nightmare on Elm Street 4K set there. It's not the big steelbook set, which is what everybody wanted.
Mhm.
And that's one of those items where you know that there's a high demand for it. The physical media community has been screaming about this for years. We want a 4K set of Freddy movies. So you know that the demand is there. You know you're going to sell a bunch of them.
Mhm.
Why leave so much money on the table by only printing a few?
And not to mention, they sold it out and then said they were going to repress like 5,000 more or something. So what was the point in the first place?
Right, right. That's always my thing. And some of it, I mean, I get it from my end. Some of it might be
Mhm.
FOMO because I want what I want, and sometimes when other people are holding them up, it's like, oh, that's cool. But
Mhm.
from a business standpoint, if you know you're going to sell so many, I mean,
Mhm.
once you go to market, I mean, you've got market projections that are going to that say you can sell this many,
Mhm.
and it can sit on the shelves for even a couple years and still sell more consistently. I don't get why they don't just print enough. It
You
bothers
know,
me.
like when it comes to smaller companies, talking about any studio that's not, or any distributor that's not attached to a large label, take like Synapse Films, who has
Mhm.
done Trick or Treat with Red Shirt Pictures. Now they're getting ready to do Fright Night Part 2. They're doing, whatever, 1,600 per cover. I get that because these companies
Right.
they're genuinely going to go, that edition is going to go out of print when they're done. It doesn't cost as much money up front. You don't have to print a million of them, and then they're going to release a standard one anyway right after that the collector's one is gone, and it creates that collector's market that works in that style.
Mhm.
Or like Turbine, I just got the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4K Turbine set, limited to I think 1,044. That I get because they're going to do a standard media book.
Yeah.
Completely understand that. But for big companies to do that, it's simply a marketing gimmick, in my opinion. Like the Nightmare, dude, everybody should have had the ability. Like, I have mine up here.
Hmm.
I didn't pre order it. I won mine somehow in a giveaway that a company was doing. And it was just sheer luck. But I pre ordered it. And about 2 weeks before it was going to ship out, I realized like I don't have the extra money sitting around to afford this 200 some dollar set.
Right.
So I canceled my pre-order and I accepted I'm probably never going to own this. And in some weird turn of events, I ended up winning one from the Monster Mall shop. But every single collector should be able to get their hands on that. It should
Yeah.
not be a limited thing. And then when you print whatever 5,000 and then you say, "Oh, that's it." And then you come out a month later and go, "Oh, by the way, we're going to print 5,000 more." And the only
Hmm.
difference is it's not going to be a red velvet, it's going to be a black, and there's going to be no certificate. That's a big slap in the face, man. Like, then why'd you do all of this anyway?
Right, right. So yeah, because I'm like, I'm not against limited editions. I mean, but not as the first edition,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this, it's the first time we're getting the Nightmare movies on 4K. So that, like you said, yeah, everybody should have their should have an opportunity to get their hands on that. Sorry about my speaking here right now, but yeah, they should have an opportunity to get their hands on that.
Mhm.
And then later on, if you want to do some fancy smancy set with maybe Freddy's head or claws or whatever,
Yeah.
you only want to print 5 or 10,000 of those. I get it, I understand. But the
Mhm.
very first thing that is supposed to be the definitive version, no, give everybody a chance to get it who wants it.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like I'm sure you saw the Spielberg Essentials set that
Hmm.
just came out. Like that being limited, I understand. Most people already own all of those movies, and it's like, hey, if you
Yeah,
want it in this style of an edition, we're gonna put a cap on it. Nightmare on Elm Street was incredibly desired. They knew that people wanted it, and they still put a numbered limit on it. And then you put it out through a company like Amazon, which I'm sorry is the absolute worst way to purchase physical media in 2026. It was just a disaster from the beginning, man. And then what? The art didn't come out until September. The box set released
right,
in October. Like because these companies, man, they don't do this. They're not engrossed in this space enough to understand truly what the collectors want. Sure, they can get input on, whatever, some bonus features or some art stuff, but they're not ingrained in this. So they just strictly look at it from this point of view. How much money can we
right,
make? And we can make the money if we put a number on it.
right. But that's where they lose me, is because you could make more money if you don't put a number on it. You could just sell
Yeah.
them, you know, in perpetuity till they, you know, as long as people are buying them. And this, kind of a segue. This also frustrates me about Disney. They've got so many movies in their catalog through all the different companies that they own. Why not just license these off, collect money from licensing? Because once you do that, that's it. The other companies are going to do all the legwork and putting it together and getting it out to
Mhm.
the public. Why just sit on all that catalog?
There's got to be a reason, right? It doesn't strictly come down to a lack of appreciation. There has to be some plan, right? If you can dry out the well long enough, if you can take it away from people and go 3, 4, 5 years, build that desire, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere be like, oh hey, we're gonna do this again. We're going to put our stuff out. We're gonna put out these limited editions, and we're gonna charge $70 for these limited editions of Alice in Wonderland or whatever various. People are gonna jump on it, man, because people want it, and you've built that demand over stripping it from people. And I don't know if that's the goal. I don't know. I think Disney shut down its physical media sector because Sony is handling the distribution of the discs, but they're not
Mhm.
very transparent about how all this works. So
Right.
who
In
knows,
in
man?
Disney's in Disney's case, I mean, the initial reason we got, they're trying to push everybody towards their streaming service. Well,
Mhm.
a lot of this stuff is not even on their streaming service. I mean, when you
Yeah.
look at all the Fox movies that they own and all the Touchstone and all that kind of stuff, all of that's not on Disney Plus. So that's
Yeah.
where I'm like, okay, I'm no businessman. I'm not a millionaire, billionaire, or anything like that. So maybe I'm just completely talking out of my ass. But it would seem to be an extra revenue stream for them. Is just, hey, shout, you do the Screen Factory, you do this one, or not Screen Factory, but whoever, Criterion, you do this one, Arrow, you do this one, and just have money coming in
It
from that.
dude, it comes down to like my wife and I leave for I was telling you before, we leave for Disney in 4 days. Why how many people go to a Disney park a day? Why is a bottle of water $7?
Yeah, true.
Why do I have to pay an extra $40 to buy a fast pass for one ride? This company makes billions of dollars per day
Yeah,
in revenue. It just comes down to greed. And unfortunately, you could say my wife and I support that by going. Like to us, it's still fun, and luckily, like we're able to. We work our butts off to afford to do this. And it does give an experience, but sometimes you think like you guys can make a serious change here and still rake in the money and make a lot more people happy than you do now. And they
Yeah,
treat
yeah.
all fronts like that, you know?
It's crazy. And I mean, I've been to Disney, but the last time I went was a few years ago. And yeah, the greed is crazy because the same shirt that I can buy in Walmart for $10, I would have to pay 30, 40, $50 for at the park.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
but
But
that's neither here nor
yeah, it's I think hopefully we're heading in a good direction. There's always going to be that greed. There's it's always going to be there in some way. I just think it comes down to like keep supporting the small guys, keep supporting the small labels that are truly not making a lot of money per release and are really working their ass off to put out great stuff for collectors. And the more support we can show them, the bigger titles that they can get, and who knows, man, maybe we can change the tide.
Yeah, hope so. Hope so. Because, like you said earlier, I mean, we have forced some changes. Um, Companies that all these boutique labels, they've had to step up their game. They're competing with each other for our dollar, and we're getting some good stuff out of that. So I definitely see that we can continue in a positive direction, especially as streaming prices keep going up. People are coming back
Yeah.
to physical media. So
Hey, let me ask you something real quick. Over your right shoulder, what is that thing in between Malcolm X and Do the Right Thing?
that is the Jackson 5 animated series from the
Nice.
early
Okay.
70s.
I just had to ask. It kept catching my attention. I'm like, what is that
Yeah,
back there?
no problem. I need to actually watch it. I watched it when I was a kid
Yeah.
because I was a huge Michael Jackson fan, like everyone. Um, but yeah, they had an animated show for the Jackson 5. It was amazing.
That's awesome. That's my ADD, man.
No, you're good. You're good. We do have some people out here just hanging out with us. We got Steve is in the building. Adrian James is also here.
Hello.
Steve responding to Adrian there. There we go. And I think Steve actually is getting in on the conversation here. Says, I hate the steelbook first releases, followed by much later by the less expensive standard release. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. And because everybody doesn't want a $50, $60 steelbook.
I don't want any
Not
steel books, man. Those things are rough to collect, man.
Yeah, I used to buy them a lot. I wouldn't say a lot because I don't have like a ton of them in
Yeah.
my collection, but I was looking for them. Prices were reasonable when they were, once upon a time,
And when they were for sale at Best Buy, they were reasonable.
yeah, I was gonna say Lionsgate, Best Buys were $20
Yeah.
brand new, and that was cool. And now, you know, they're the highest priced things out there, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous. Caprice is here. He says hello, my darlings,
Hello.
and a lot of people just talking back and forth. Swappy Doobie Dee. Hey, Prince, what's up, Prince? And I love the bass mouth there, the wide mouth bass. I think that's what that is. Congrats on the freaking Knicks. Yes, absolutely. I'll watch a crappy movie next week as punishment. I think he was rooting for the Spurs.
People swore we could hear New York celebrating all the way here in Philly.
You might have. You might have. I'm not actually in New York anymore. I grew up in New York, but I'm not in New York anymore. I'm in North
Yeah.
Carolina. Earlier today, I was in a store, and another lady saw me wearing this shirt, and she goes, "How about those Knicks?" And we get to talking for a minute. And it turns out she's from New York,
Hmm.
and she's leaving tonight so she can be at the parade in the morning. I was so jealous. I
Nice.
was,
Yeah.
ah.
Nice.
So, but I wished her a good time anyway. Hopefully, they'll maybe I'll be able to catch some of it online or on TV somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah. Thank God I live on the other side of Jersey, not North Jersey.
Okay.
I'm literally right. Like I can see Philly from my window right now. I'm right outside the city.
Okay. And didn't go. This is okay. I wasn't going to show this, but I kind of have to now. Hey, Steve didn't go to the toilet for my coffee today. Thank God. Okay. That's not sure what that's all about, but it sounds like an in joke between you two, and that's perfectly fine. But I thought it was funny. We got another guest that we know of. What's up, Jeff?
No, what's up, Jeff?
Jeff's been doing some good stuff lately.
Yeah, me and Jeff talk every now and again, man. It's a good dude.
Princey has a basketball question for me. Who's the best acquisition of the Knicks this season? I think OG takes the cake for me. Yeah, OG. I mean, I would have listened to the argument that he was actually the MVP of the series, but no, I don't get a vote, and that's perfectly fine. All right, so let's get to the reason why we're here, and that is to talk about these two movies. Go ahead and tell the good people what movie you made me watch. If you can give us a brief synopsis of it, also, that would be perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So I made you watch a favorite of mine. This is from 1980, and it's Brian De Palma's "Dressed to Kill." And for those who don't know, "Dressed to Kill" is a story of a mysterious blonde woman who kills a patient of a psychiatrist, and then goes after the high class hooker who witnessed the murder. Dude, I am so excited to hear your thoughts on
Okay.
Dress to Kill.
Okay, we're definitely gonna get to those. Um, Kind of just going through the movie a little bit. Uh, I've seen Carrie, I've seen Scarface, and I've seen a handful of other Brian De Palma movies, so I'm not new to him.
Mhm.
And Carrie immediately came to mind right at the beginning. We get Angie Dickinson is well, she's not the main character, but she's the woman we're introduced to first.
Mhm.
And we see her in a shower, and it is like the longest, slowest, slow motion, full frontal shower possible. And so I was reminded of the opening scene in Carrie. Have you seen Carrie?
Of course, I love that movie.
Okay, and in the locker room, we're slow motion panning through the locker room with all the naked girls running around. So I was
Yep.
immediately thinking of that, and it was definitely a movie shower. Because if I don't know if that's a term anywhere, but I call it a movie shower where no one's actually washing anything; they're just kind of rubbing on on themselves. So immediately, I was put into that situation, in that mind frame, and then we are introduced to her husband, and we kind of get a little bit about their relationship, and we realize that this is not a good marriage right now, and he can't go with her to the museum that day, and she's frustrated. They have sex, but it's like of the most horrible sort.
Yeah.
And so she's also got she also has a therapist played by one Michael Caine. So she goes to see the therapist, and she's telling him all this, and they're really setting it up like she is the main character. So for your first watch, did you think she was the main character?
I unfortunately had it ruined for me that
Oh,
she
okay.
wasn't. I think I was watching a documentary at some point in the past, and they had talked about that as a like an Alfred Hitchcock like common plot twist, and
Hmm.
I was like, damn, it ruined it. But I will say, the movie sells it really well, really, really well. It makes you think for a long time that you're going to be with her for the remainder of the movie.
Right, right. It does do that, and we're not. We just kind of spoiled it for people too, and that's okay. This is a 46-year-old movie,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of okay. We'll get more into spoilers later on, but yeah, she meets the guy in the museum, and she's uh, I don't know if she's really like taken by the guy as much as she's taken by the idea of what she's doing. It's kind
Hmm.
of hard to tell. But she goes home with the guy. There's a few things that happen in between there, and then she's leaving the guy's apartment and gets on the elevator, and this mysterious blonde comes in and just murders her right in the elevator. And waiting outside the elevator is Nancy Allen's character. Liz, is that her name? I can't remember her name offhand.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, it's yep, Liz Blake.
Yeah, and she's a call girl, and she's with a client, and the elevator opens up, and she sees all the blood and everything, and Angie Dickinson's character just kind of laying there while the blonde is like hiding behind the other side of the elevator where she can't see.
Hmm.
And of bada boom bada bing, she's a murder suspect because she for some reason grabbed the razor that the
Yeah.
person was using and got
Smart move.
seen by another person. And so yeah, she's a murder suspect. And I think it's Dennis Franz plays a cop of NYPD
Mhm.
Blue fame, and he's giving her a hard time, and he's also talking to Michael Caine, the therapist, and so all this is swirling around. I know you had that part kind of ruined for you. Did you have who the killer was ruined for you before watching it? Also,
I did not. This movie is incredibly ahead of its time
hmm
using the. I mean, obviously, I think we already spoiled it, right? I could just talk full on about.
yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, Michael Caine is. The movie says that he's cross dressing to be the killer. So he's wearing a dress, he's putting on a wig, and it really was out of left field because the movie doesn't really set up many red herrings. It's not constantly going, "Ooh, is it this person? Ooh, is it this It doesn't do that a whole lot, not to the level of like a giallo film does. It's
hmm
really smart about how it approaches it. So when you find out it is him, it's pretty it's pretty shocking, and I think it's done really well. Like I didn't have any issues believing that it could have been him. There's a great moment that I love when she comes out of the museum. I think the museum scene is one of the best of the whole movie, but when she comes out of the museum, there's this crazy like crane tracking shot
hmm
that a lot of people don't know actually passes Michael Caine in the get up that he's wearing as the killer. It
Yeah,
passes by him, and he's just one of the people standing there, and it's just genius how well Brian De Palma handles it, man. Because when that twist comes out at the end that he was the killer, it just I remember being like, "Oh, that's that shit right there." I'm in it.
so there are a lot of good shots in the movie.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah.
And he, I would say, going back to Carrie again, he used a lot of the techniques in Carrie and some that he upgraded. Because one of my favorite scenes is we're towards the end of the movie actually. Nancy Allen's character Liz, she's talking about buying stocks because she got
Mhm.
a tip from her customer about buying stocks. So she's talking on the phone to somebody about buying stocks after she had talked to, I guess, her madam or pimp or whoever was on the other end of the phone, trying to set her
Yeah.
up with another date so she can have the money to buy these stocks.
Mhm.
And then on the other end, we get a split screen. Michael Caine is also talking, and he's not talking about something completely the opposite, but the
Mhm.
two work together. So I thought that was I thought that was a brilliant, brilliantly done scene. That was my favorite.
Yeah, De Palma, especially early De Palma. I mean, this blowout. God, Body Double. Like his
Mhm.
movies feel like they exist on a different plane because everything is so enhanced. Like even a lot of people don't know that the cab sequence where she gets in the cab with the guy
Mhm.
from the museum and they begin to make love in the back of the cab, that was just shot on city streets. Like they got a cab and had somebody driving it and just shot that driving around the city. That wasn't like a pre-set up permitted thing. And there's the people that are driving outside the car, like those are just real people going about their day in New York City. And all of his movies live in this, like I said, this weird plane where it almost feels like a dream. The whole movie feels like an odd dream,
Mhm.
and it's so heightened. Like even seeing Nancy Allen this way, like she's pretty scantily clad in some moments
Yeah,
in this movie. Um,
or
it's
not quite
really
at all.
or not clad at all. Yeah, it's really like it's really an interesting visual aesthetic that he has, and he's one of those people who has the ability to use split frames or weird cuts and cross dissolves in ways that directors nowadays can't even mimic.
Right.
They just can't do it.
He he used some of that stuff in Karen. I keep bringing up Karen. The reason I meant to say this when I was speaking before, but the reason I brought it up was because the split screen here is so much smoother
Mhm.
than it is in Carrie. Like,
Yeah.
and part of it is why he was using it in Carrie. You got the hard musical cues, and you get Sissy Spacek with the crazy looks on her face, and you get a lot of herky jerky movements uh, trying to show us the state of mind that she's in.
Mhm.
Whereas in this movie, it's just two people who are doing what they would normally do,
Mhm. Yeah.
and and it's not like a hard split, not like a black line going down the middle of the screen. It's just two things next to each other that are happening simultaneously. So I really did appreciate that.
It's
Um,
also it's also too like 1980. We're coming to the end of, well, pretty much the end. Some say it's already dead, but of the Gialli era in Italy, where
mhm.
Dario Argento is already out, Suspiria is already out. Like, there's a lot of, and De Palma lives in that world, especially during the elevator kill sequence. That's Gialli to the T, having the shot of the blade come up, the slice, the close up on the wound being open on the face. That whole sequence you can put into any Italian giallo movie and it works perfectly. And he brought that sensibility over to American audiences so well, and in a way that's not like copying. That's not like, oh, that's really cool and it's coming from another country, so I'm going to copy that. But in a way that was more so, when we look back on it, giving homage to it and giving respect to those directors and those styles. And it's really fun to look back at it, especially the more I learn about the giallo genre and the more I see different movies or different influences. It's really cool to see kind of this crossover of cultures and visual styles. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is, and like I said, he does a really good job with that. Um, you mentioned Nancy Allen, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this out there. What do you think of her performance?
I mean, I think Nancy Allen's always great. I think my favorite performance in the movie is Keith Gordon, just because he's one of my favorites, and I wish outside of Christine and Ventures of Billie Jean, I had or Legend of Billie Jean, I had seen some more with him. But I think he's great. Michael Caine is fantastic as always. That guy, that guy can act any day of the week. You know what I mean? And pull me in. I mean, he saved the Dark Knight trilogy for me, in my opinion.
He
Yeah, I think
saved it. Wow, that's a strong statement.
he's my favorite. He's my favorite character in that trilogy. Yeah, I think Nancy Allen's great, man. It's interesting to see these rare roles where female actresses really go further than they've ever gone before.
Mhm.
And you see that a lot, I think, with directors like Cronenberg and De Palma, who do have this classic sensibility to themselves. Um, and I haven't seen every Nancy Allen movie, so I'm not too sure if this is exactly, out of her wheelhouse. But uh, her and everybody else in this movie, I thought were fantastic. What about you? What did you think?
Yeah, I thought she was good. I I wasn't like super impressed though, and I think part of it is something she can't help, and that's maybe I should cut her some more slack with that. But it's just her manner of speaking sometimes, right?
Hmm.
It sounds it doesn't fit the seductress that she's trying to put on all the time,
Hmm.
and it's kind of like feels forced in those moments. But overall, I thought she was pretty good,
Hmm.
and I've only seen her in a handful of movies myself. Um, the other problem here for me is that I've seen one of those performances way too many times, and that's RoboCop. So,
Yeah.
so it was
Yeah.
hard for me to get that out of my head. Um, but uh, she wasn't bad. I just
Mhm.
didn't. She just didn't blow me away. The person who really did blow me away was Angie Dickinson
Yeah.
for everything she was doing. I thought she was amazing because she had to carry a lot of those scenes uh, just with facial expressions, not even talking, or if she's talking, she's not very verbose, right? She says a few things and she looks off into the distance, or she's thinking about something.
Dude,
And
the paranoia in her face during the museum scene
yeah,
is haunting, dude. I mean, that scene visually is a nightmare, but she just this sense of trying to find him and feeling so confused and lost that she can't, and in this confusing setting, just back and forth, she sells it beautifully.
she does. And it's a hard thing to sell because her character has to go through a lot of different things in a
Hmm.
short amount of time. and I still believe that that person would do everything that they show her doing, uh,
Yeah.
based on that performance. And the writing of her character was also excellent. That definitely helps. But she really, really sold it because most actresses, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard sell for this woman who we know or we gather has never really done anything like this
Hmm.
to still go through with this and then do the things that she did in the back of the taxi and then waking up late that night or early the next morning, whatever it was, and kind of looking around this guy's apartment, and all of those things felt believable because of her work. So I thought she was really, really good.
It's really, I mean, I think the it's very brave of these actors to take on these roles. I mean, the opening scene alone with her is as bare as you're going to get on screen. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's very explicit. It's very graphic. And I believe if I remember correctly, I do think that there was some close-ups in the opening shower scene that was a body double, but
I can believe that. Yeah.
a lot of the obviously the wider shots where you see her face were her. It's tough to do, man. I mean, if you are you a fan of Reanimator?
Yes.
Yeah, Barbara Crampton has talked a lot about the impact that that role had on her career, and that was expected of women, and especially as the 80s went on and the horror genre grew, and that became, what the producers thought were a selling point of these movies. It's really tough, and I admire any actor who's willing to really put themselves out there in that way for a story. And you can argue that Dress to Kill doesn't need any of that to be effective.
Mhm.
I would argue that it does need it. If this movie was PG-13, it was much more censored, I don't think it would have the same impact as it does, because this is De Palma's thing. This is what he does. This is part of the legacy of Dress to Kill.
True. We could argue the necessity of having the shower scene, but as
Yeah.
far as being PG-13 or PG at that time versus R, it definitely has to be an R-rated story. It's
Oh,
just
yeah, the
no
opening
way around.
shower scene is very like overlong. I think it just
Yeah,
keeps going and going. Like you could have definitely trimmed up, but that's not in De Palma's wheelhouse to trim up. I think if it was
right.
up to him, it would have been 5 minutes longer had he got the final say.
Yeah, and chalk it up to the era. You mentioned, when it came out. It came out in 1980, and especially in a horror film, and this rides that line between horror and thriller. And there's gonna be nudity. There's just no way
Mhm.
around it, right? There's very few horror movies of that time, especially when we're exploring killers, we're exploring
Mhm.
serial killers and mass murderers, and we're talking all the Jason. We talk about any number of movies at that time. There's gonna be nudity in it, so
Yeah.
par for the course, I guess, for that. And it's just usually not a big name because Angie Dickinson by 1980 is a name.
Yeah.
She had done Policewoman was a big hit TV
Mhm.
series that she was on, and she had other movies that she was in also, and was never one to shy away from taking the top off. To be honest with you, um,
Yeah.
but that said, a lot of the women who were known for taking their tops off weren't the best actresses, but she really was really great in this film.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'm looking at the black exploitation sets behind you, which
yeah.
is a favorite genre of my favorite subgenre of mine. Exploitation in general is a favorite subgenre of mine, and I would argue that the '70s were the most explicit time in cinema. I
Hmm.
think that that's when, if you were to go back and actually count the amount of nudity in films, I think the '70s
Oh,
would
yeah,
probably
it's a lot.
rank higher than anybody else. So we're coming out of that, but Dress to Kill landing in 1980 is still very much like
Oh yeah.
kind of the last dying age of the '70s. And I think too in the industry there might have been a little bit of a change in that, where these more known actresses were able to say like, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, I don't mind it as much as long as I'm working for somebody that I know the intentions are good and it's benefiting story. Like I don't mind as much." But I don't know. I think it's always going to be a difficult conversation because Obviously we're only 20 from this comes out. We're only like 30 years away from the Weinstein incident really blowing up all of the scum in Hollywood. And these are the stories of this kind of disgusting attitude in Hollywood range all the way back to the 40s and 50s and Marilyn Monroe and
Earlier.
oh my God, forever. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really disgusting. And yeah, I just like as many like I try to read as much as I can about kind of what were the feelings around all of this stuff in the 70s and 80s, and nobody's really forth like right about it. Nobody's really been like, oh hey, this is kind of what it was like. Some women loved it and they were all for it. Some women felt forced, and some women kind of fell in the middle, and it's just kind
Yeah.
of one of those things.
I would say the stories are out there. You just kind of you got to look for them. And I
Yeah.
know one place to look is I can't think of the name of it. I'll try to find it. But I know Pam Grier actually wrote an autobiography
Mhm.
where she talks about a lot of this stuff. Um, and in her case, it became a an empowerment thing where okay, this is what they want, but I'm gonna own it and
Mhm.
I'm gonna make it work for me. And she managed to do that. And the rest of her life story, I don't know how much you know about her life story, her early life anyway, pretty rough. So it's a
Yeah.
pretty good read.
I think
Um,
we're I think we're back to that now though. I mean, we're kind of coming back to a how do I put this? Like a sex positive film industry. You're seeing it a lot more than you did within the last 20 years. And I think it's interesting, man. It all comes in waves, and living in one of those waves now and being current in film during this wave, I'm curious to see kind of where it goes. And I just hope that everybody involved is uh, you know, is safe and is outright, when shit goes wrong, you need to tell people, and
yeah.
we need to put these people, ideally I would say people like Weinstein, you can hang them in the streets, but that's a little,
I think we got to be careful though because Weinstein wasn't the only guy,
exactly.
and
Yeah, he was just the biggest spotlight.
right. And I'm sure there's still those guys around.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, everybody just has to be careful. And it's a little a different conversation, but most of that sex is not happening in the movie theaters. And what I mean by that is the blockbuster movies or the movies that find themselves in theaters right now. I think we're seeing less sex there,
Mhm.
but if you go through all the streaming services, it is definitely still out there, and a lot of the TV series now actually too.
Yeah, I mean, look at like I think it really the bubble kind of exploded with Sean Baker and Honora.
Yeah,
That and there's some movies that are coming out this year that are I think kind of in that middle distribute, like Neon, A24, that are very very explicit, and I'm curious to see kind of how they do,
yeah. R-rated movies are always a hit or miss kind of thing
Mhm.
because you've already cut out part of your audience
Yeah.
or part of the audience, right? You're
Yeah.
focusing on just the adults, and I shouldn't even say that because there are R-rated movies that are kind of marketed towards younger people.
Mhm.
Um, but in general, these are not people who can actually go buy the tickets, right?
Yeah.
That you're cutting out, even if you're marketing it younger, like the Deadpool movies, for instance, right? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in those movies, but they're still marketed towards 13-year-old boys for the most part.
Yeah, or like Backrooms where 70% of the audience was like 15 years old, you know what I mean?
Right,
So,
right. That kind of thing. We do have someone else who's popped in, Big Mac 007. What's going on?
hey, what's up?
All right, so we got way off subject here. Let's get back to this movie in particular. And you talked about I forgot his name, but the kid from Christine,
Yeah.
um, who plays Angie Dickinson's son in this movie. He has a pretty interesting role, and I, I struggled with how much they gave him whether it could have been more or it could have been less. I lean towards they could have given him a little bit more to do. I
Mhm.
don't know. How did you feel about him?
I agree. I think he definitely could have had more to do. I mean, this movie is already how long is Dress to Kill? It's already what, 2
About a,
hours? Is
it's
was
a
it
little shy
so
of 2 hours, I think.
yeah, it's an hour and 44 minutes.
Yeah,
I think at that point you're already kind of I mean, I take 5 minutes away from the opening shower scene, give Keith Gordon an additional scene, maybe we could have
yeah,
um he's just one of those guys like this is pre-Christine. This is, very early on in his career and I think he's such a great like Keith Gordon doesn't feel like an actor. He
hmm
feels like he just feels like a kid off the street who happens to kind of get a chance. So I like his role here. I do agree. I wish they could have given him a little bit more, but for the most part, I like him.
yeah,
Yeah, yep.
exactly. It's not that I disliked him at all. It's just that I was like, okay, he could be doing more right now.
Hmm.
There's something else there, whether it's giving him more to do with Liz or kind of exploring how he's dealing with his grief.
Hmm. Yeah.
Something along those lines. So we get to the end, and you've already mentioned, we find out Michael Caine is a killer, and all hell breaks loose. And here's where the movie started to lose me.
Hmm.
Um, at one of the places, but is they immediately launch into a long, drawn out explanation of a 1980s understanding of transsexual, and from it was just too much, basically explaining to the audience
A dump.
for
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was kind of out of the movie at that point. I don't know. Did that affect you either anyway?
Depends on your mileage of Italian cinema. I mean, that's pretty much like if the basis of giallo, which is this is pretty much mostly inspired by one of the rules of giallo is that you're supposed to create a bunch of red herrings and that we're not supposed to be able to guess who the killer is. And typically the killer is somebody that was barely introduced, if at all. And typically at the end of the movie, we're given a long, drawn out kind of exposition dump as to why they did this. So it's very much kind of fitting that structure. And me being such a big Giallo fan, I was used to it, but I can certainly see kind of where it can turn away from some people there.
Yeah, and you mentioned Giallo. I came at it from the perspective of Psycho. I just keep seeing Psycho all over this movie,
Yeah.
and in Psycho, we get kind of the same thing after Norman Bates gets caught. Sorry if I spoil that for anybody who's never seen Psycho, but but after he gets caught, and we get the doctor, and he's explaining what's going on in Norman's head, and I felt like this was that, and
Yeah.
in 1960, I think it was needed. In 1980, is not that we were all enlightened by 1980 or anything,
Yeah.
but I think that the tenets of storytelling should have led us away from doing that.
Yeah, I think you're still. Yeah, I think if De Palma had a chance to do this movie now, there might have been a little bit more kind of better structuring in the storytelling to make it
Mhm.
make sense, as opposed to having to just kind of trauma dump it all into the audience like this. Um, and it's one of those flaw. It's one of those flaws of the storytelling here. But I think for the most part, I know that I just kind of get wrapped up in the whole chaos of the visual
Mhm. Mhm.
storytelling of the movie. And by the time it's happening, I'm just so like I already gave myself over to it.
Okay.
So I actually might watch this when we're done and really, really, really pay attention to that. And then we're gonna have to message you and tell you kind of how I changed on that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You may not change it all, and that's
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
the great part of it. Um, we got yeah, Just to Kill is wild. Yes, absolutely. And yes, we saw your comment about TNA flicks. I watched so many TNA flicks in the 80s, and I have a number of them. The funny thing is, I never saw this because this is the exact type of movie that would play late night on HBO and Cinemax and that
Mhm.
kind of thing. And I watched a lot of late night movies, and I never watched this one. Uh, I would see it in the video store also, so I know the cover of it is iconic.
Yeah.
Um, and just never got the urge to watch it. So when you suggested that, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I finally have to see this movie, see what's going on.
Yeah, same with the movie that you gave me. So we're both this was I think a perfect perfect two picks.
Yeah, these movies share more DNA than I thought.
I think they do.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of similarities happening. Just gonna make some things interesting. Um, yeah, spoilers, lol. Yeah, I might as well put up the banner since we're there. I made this banner. Might as well put it up. Just hey, there it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, we mentioned that the look of the film. We mentioned we mentioned some of the acting. I think another big plus for this film is the pacing. You talked about the runtime; it's about hour 44.
Mhm.
This is something we struggle with currently in movies now. Filmmakers have this idea that every movie is supposed to be 2 hours long, and that is
Huh.
not the case. Uh, every movie is supposed to be exactly as long as its story needs it to be. And
Mhm.
sometimes that's 90 minutes, and sometimes that's 180 minutes. It could be, it varies from movie to movie. So I think this movie's, the pacing of it did was really well done. So I was never sitting around kind of waiting on things to happen. I wasn't like checking my watch or anything like that. So that helped. That helped keep me. It keeps me in the movie, and I really appreciated that. Um, I don't know if you thought about the pacing of this movie before, but if you could speak to that at all.
I mean, Jerry Greenberg, the editor on this, he worked on pretty much everything De Palma after this. I think all the way
Mhm.
up to Untouchables he did. I don't know if there was any other. Yeah, it looks like it was up to Untouchables, but this is the same guy who edited. I mean, a year before this, he edited Apocalypse Now. He did the original taking of Pelham 123 from '74. He even edited The French Connection for William Friedkin.
Great,
I
great
mean,
movies.
yeah, the guy knows what he's doing, and I also think too the plot of Dress to Kill is simple enough that it can keep moving, and the fact that you end the first act with the death of our supposed main character Angie Dickerson, I think really adds like a jolt to the movie because now you sit up, you're like, ooh, hold on, where are we going now? And it just carries that very well. I think the pacing here is good.
Yeah, the movie goes. It does a lot with it with its story. It doesn't waste any time. It gets to the point. We got great performances here, great visuals, and is there anything else about this movie that we haven't touched on that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, I just got to shout out Pino Donaggio's score. He, I think, probably best known for Carrie. He did incredible work on Carrie for Brian De Palma. Um, his score here is incredible. I have this on. I think I have the score on both CD and vinyl. It's very good. But he also composed stuff like "Don't Look Now" from the seven. I believe that was 70. I forget what year "Don't Look Now" was. I think it was like 76. But yeah, he did Carrie. He did the original Piranha, Tourist Trap, Dress to Kill. He did The Fan. I mean, this guy really brought an Italian sensibility over to the US and then also in Italy as well. But I think it's one of those scores that if you separate it from the movie, you're going to find just as much enjoyment in it as it was during the movie.
Okay, 73 for Don't Look Now.
73. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't mention the score, but yeah, it was a pretty good score. So shout out to him. Um, let me see. Do we have any other comments about the film? Let's see. I am struggling over here. There we go. Not really a comment about the film, but I have it on Criterion and the 4K. I have
Nice.
seen that 4K. I don't have it, but I have seen that 4K.
Yeah, I just have
At
the
my local.
Criterion one.
Yep. I do not have it on. I do not have this movie at all, actually, and I just didn't have time to buy it in
Yeah.
between or from when we were talking about doing this. Um, all right, so I'm gonna give my final overall thoughts on this movie, and then we can discuss those further if you would like. Put the uh, I'm gonna put the spoiler back up since we're still talking spoilers here. All right, so overall, I will say that the movie it actually lost me early, but then watching the murder mystery part of it, especially Dennis Franz, the police officer we didn't talk much about. Um, he kind of brought me back into it, and the reason why it lost me was because I looked at the screen at the first kill when Angie Dickinson is killed, and I said, "That's Michael Caine." As soon as I did that, I was kind of out of it, and I have to
Yeah.
be honest. It was like, yeah, that's Michael Caine. I maybe I've seen too many Michael Caine movies, or
Yeah.
maybe maybe the passing of time, and now the picture is sharper,
Hmm.
and I can see him more clearly. And I think Psycho kind of has the same effect, depending on what format you watch it on. You can kind of see Norman's face
Hmm.
during that shower scene. And I bring up Psycho, and I said it before. I really did see Psycho like all over this movie. We got this woman, pretty name actress, and we set her up as the main character. Then we kill her off, and we go focus on somebody else. And we got the cross dressing thing going on here,
Hmm.
and then I mentioned the explanation part, which is all just felt like Psycho all over to me. And it's like he took that movie and then he kind of dropped elements of Carrie on it. Basically, the beginning we talked about the shower. We didn't talk about the end, which Nancy Allen's character wakes up screaming after dreaming that that Michael Caine had come back to get her. So it was very reminiscent of the end of Carrie for me,
Hmm.
and so I had a hard time with this movie. This movie does a lot of things well, but
Hmm.
it didn't all work for me because of those elements.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. I don't know that I would go back and watch it again. But if people enjoy the movie, I can definitely see why, because so many things are done well. And to
Yeah.
be honest, I think it works better if you approach it from the angle that you did, which is giallo inspired, rather than the angle that I came at it with is, oh, this is a Psycho knockoff. That's that's kind of
Yeah.
the angle
Yeah. 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 I would tell you to give it like a year and then revisit it.
that I. Okay.
Now that I'm always a big fan of watching movies again and giving it a little
Yeah.
bit of time. I'd be curious of like a year from now if it changes for you, because I do think there eventually becomes a point where you are just pulled into the aesthetic of it
Hmm.
and kind of the shock, like not really the shock, but the kind of sleazy appeal to the whole movie. And a lot of times now, like I showed this to my wife maybe last summer, and my wife saw it was Michael Caine right away. She knew right away. But
Right.
at the end of it, she was like, "This movie has like an energy that I couldn't get away from. It's like it's like
Okay.
something you're not supposed to be watching." So I'd be curious, like a year from now, if you revisit it, how your thoughts would change.
Yeah, I'm curious of that, to be honest with you, because like you said, now I know going in, and
Hmm.
then I can
Hmm.
just be more absorbed
Yeah.
into what's going on. We mentioned red herrings a couple times. There is one kind of red herring that I thought was hilarious by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Is we didn't really mention the character Bobby.
Yeah.
Um, the thing that bothered me the most at the end of the movie was like, okay, so is Michael Caine's character really a transsexual, or do they suffer from multiple personalities? Because this character Bobby, just for starters, has an American accent,
Hmm. Yeah.
and that just struck me as hilarious. So I don't know. Do with that with what you will.
Yeah. I mean, I think like. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely little like you could perceive it as multiple personality. You could also perceive it as just it's kind of like the word I'm looking for here, different like a psychotic break that's only taken over when he becomes this other character, which would kind
Right.
of fall into multiple personalities. I don't know. It's interesting. I also think the movie too. I think one of the problems with the movie, and it's not really a problem because the movie, it's not its fault, but it definitely, I don't think, casts a great light on on this, very sensitive subject of
Yeah.
like, oh, somebody's only psychotic because they're dressing like a woman. You know what I mean?
Right. And you know what? I give that a pass. I chalk that up
Yeah.
to 1980.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. I think
'Cause-
that's one of those things where like if anybody of a certain age group watched it today, they would be like, "Oh, this movie's so insensitive." But the world has changed
yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
I actually think looking back at it from the modern light is kind of a great like test on how far positively we've come as a society. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair enough. We do have some comments about it here. Steve says, I think they even played the music from Psycho during the elevator murder,
Yeah.
and a lot of Hitchcock vibes, says Big Mac. Okay, so I'm just not crazy. That's letting me know that. And check out Body Double. I think I've seen Body Double. I definitely need to rewatch because if I saw it, I was a whole lot younger, a
Yeah.
long time
Yeah.
ago.
Body
Um,
Double is a perfect double feature with Dress to Kill. If you can sustain
yeah.
the sleaze for that long, it's a perfect double feature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I like a good deal of De Palma's work. So this is not like, oh, I'll never watch it. No,
Yeah.
this is that's not this at all. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would definitely see. I will definitely see Body Double again if I have seen it. Like I said, if I've seen it, it's been. I don't want to count how many years that would be, but it's been a long time. Um, yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to the other movie. And like I said, these two movies share a lot of DNA, and just at least from the structure standpoint. And I was surprised by that because, of course, I had never seen Dress to Kill, and it's kind of a synergy in the universe when I pick a movie and you pick a movie, and they both kind of the same thing, even though we don't know what we're picking. And
Yeah.
not to say that this is the same thing because this definitely veers off into a different direction, a supernatural direction that I'm sure we'll get into. Um, but that movie is from exactly 10 years later, and it is Death by Temptation. I do have here, and in this movie, we it's centered a lot around a bar and one young lady's apartment. And in this bar, we get a lot of regulars here, and one of them is this young lady who she's kind of sitting in the corner, and guys are hitting on her all the time, and she takes guys home, so everybody kind of knows that she's promiscuous because she's there all the time.
Mhm.
But what's a little strange is people don't come back. The other whoever she went home with don't tend to come back. Uh, our opening scene, we get a guy, talking to her, and he goes back to her place, and we see that she just flat out murders him. And we talked about the women being brave in Just to Kill. Here, a guy is also very brave. Another
Thank you
full,
for bringing
full
that up. Thank
reveal.
you.
And yeah, he gets murdered, and then we kind of go back to the bar, and the other two characters that we meet, one played by Kadeem Hardison, who a different world fame, is his. I guess that's his biggest thing, and he played a dad on a couple of Disney shows later on.
Mhm.
Um, his character has been living in New York for a little while, and he's also been hanging around this bar. And his little brother from somewhere in the South, I don't think they ever really say where, but he's really getting ready to go to seminary school, He's very devout religiously, and but he's having some strange thoughts and dreams, and he wants to come up and talk to his brother, come in person in New York. So he comes up there and hangs out with him, and things progress from there. Um, yeah, how about that opening scene?
Dude, I love, first of all, when we picked this, I it was in my collection already. I had no idea this was a trauma film. No
Yeah.
idea. New Jersey represent. Um the Ernest Dickerson shot the hell out of this movie. And Ernest Dickerson is one of my favorite late 80s, early 90s especially. I mean, guy who brought us, Tales from the Crypt, the movies, and just an incredible cinematographer. And he came on and shot this movie. And talk about a beautiful movie, dude.
Yes.
This blew me away visually. All the reds and the blues and the neons. This bar has some of the best 90s vibes I've ever seen in my life, man. It is just drenched in a layer of cigarette smoke. I
Yes.
love the character of Dougie, who is constantly trying to get women by making up stories. We just see him over and over again. Her at the end of the bar absolutely stunned me. Her beauty, there's just something to her personality, or not even her personality, to her, just her look, her image that is so seductive. And like, I almost felt that through the screen. It's like, no wonder she's the one every guy wants in this place. You know what I mean? It's incredible, dude. And I loved it. And this movie does something really interesting where we kind of get two different stories of what she does to these characters before we're even introduced to Kay.
Hmm.
So the pacing of the movie is a little unique, but it sets her up so well because we kind of get two different looks at exactly what she's doing to men. Obviously, she's a succubus.
Hmm.
Um, and the power of this bar just kind of being the hub is incredible, dude. I love this location.
Yeah, it was the bar itself is a character in the movie.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like you said, it's got all the '90s vibes going, the cigarette smoke, and for her, it's just her presence is amazing at the end of the bar. Um, it was interesting. You mentioned Dougie. Um, it was funny. I really want to kind of let people know the first story he kind of tells, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm making a movie with Bruce Lee." Now, mind you, this is 1990, and it's not a movie set in the past. It's set present day. So it's 1990. Bruce Lee has been gone for almost 20 years by this point, and he's still trying to sell this. You know, I'm making a movie with Bruce Lee. And he goes, between you and me, Bruce is not dead, and every night is something just outrageous coming out of his mouth. And so I wanted to get your take on, was he was he genuine in that, or is he just hanging there just to spy, just to check her out? Because we find out later that he is a not a police officer, but he he does work for a government agency.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think we've all heard of the guy at the bar who's just so desperate he's willing to say anything, and that's kind of a trope in a lot of, you see this character a lot in a lot of films or TV that kind of center around a bar. It's the guy that goes and just kind of lies and tells stories to impress, and um, I don't really know how to take him because he's so genuine with it. Like it doesn't seem, it almost seems like he believes in his lies at the point that he's telling it, but I never see him go home with anybody. They never show this successful. There's even a moment where he's talking to one woman and the camera pans over to the two ladies next to her, kind of giggling and laughing because they know his shtick by now, and he's
Right.
telling something totally different than what he did before. And I think it's funny that he's the guy that just this never works for. Like you have him who's trying so hard and he gets nowhere. And then you have our main character, our succubus character, who isn't trying at all and is pulling every guy who walks in that place strictly
Right.
off of, let's say, let's be current, strictly off of vibes alone. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? She is this a magnetic presence. And I just think it's funny that this character's here, and it's cool to see him kind of step up at the end of the movie and play a bigger role with Kay, because
Right.
he is really the only other consistency in this bar outside of the bartender, you know.
Yeah. The bartender um, is a funny character. No, well, I wouldn't say he's a funny character, but he does get a funny moment kind of
Yeah.
later in the movie. Um, we get our other two characters. You mentioned the Kadeem Hardison character, and the younger brother is played by James Bond the third, who is the director of the movie and the writer of the movie.
Mhm.
And what do you think of their relationship?
It's so odd because Kay is a pretty remarkable personality. Like that first scene with him and the temptress in the bar,
Hmm.
he's very, very good. He almost has the same sort of magnetic energy as she does, and it feels like it just feels like this fits and this works. And when you get to his apartment, I love it even more because he has a Dance or Die poster on the wall. He's got a Demon Warp poster on the wall. He's got a big Reagan statue on top of the TV. Like it just has a very unique personality. And his brother Joel is sort of the complete like opposite. Like
One hundred
he is,
percent.
yeah, he's very, very like he's obviously incredibly religious. He wants to work in the church, and he's coming to get experience. And it seems like Kay has pretty good firsthand experience of the evil that is New York City anyway, especially at this time, like the characters that you're going to meet on the streets. And he
Right.
tries his best to let Joel know, like, hey, this isn't North Carolina anymore. You know,
Yes.
this city
Yeah,
will
they
eat
did
you
mention that. I
up.
apologize.
This city will eat you up. It doesn't care who you are. There's no mercy. And it's really kind of a perfect representation of two people that, while they share the same blood, have very different life experience, and that's clashing.
Yeah, there's definitely clashing. And Corey was here. I had his comment up. What's going on, Corey? And yeah, they did mention he's from North Carolina. And it's crazy because I watched the movie twice in a week and still forgot that. But yeah, their relationship is oil and water.
Hmm.
Completely. Um, I wish, to be honest, one thing I wish is we had gotten to see the Kadeem Hardison character interact with the grandmother, because they
Yeah.
did mention there was some friction between the
Hmm.
two of them. Um, and kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but we she goes through our succubus. She goes through her list of a bunch of guys here, and you know the two brothers, they're having their thing, and we got the character at the bar. He's doing his thing, and eventually the younger brother goes to the bar, and after his older brother had already met her,
Hmm.
um, and kind of claimed him, or claimed her. He's like, yeah, I met this woman, and then so he takes his little brother to the bar, and 2 seconds later he comes back and he's like, hey, I met somebody, and it turns out to be the same woman. What do you think about that scene?
I'm so at the moment when they both go to the bar, right, and she kind of
Yeah,
forgets that she even knows Kay.
I don't know if she
I
forgets.
No, she doesn't forget, but I definitely think there's something greater at play in this movie than just happenstance of meeting, because we see through flashbacks throughout the movie that there has been this sort of this thing following Joel.
Hmm.
You know, we see it as a black cloaked or a figure with a black veil over. We know it's a woman, and we see this through the flashbacks as it goes on. And I do feel like there is this undeniable draw from the succubus to Joel because of his beliefs, and she's trying to break that down. And I think she wants to harvest off of the opposite of her. This is a man who very much believes in God, believes in the power of God. She is the opposite. She is a demon, right? She feeds off that, and she wants to break that down and and and
Yes.
and get that. And Kay just kind of is the one who's able to call her out on her shit. She's not attracted to Joel, I don't believe in any way, other than just I'm trying to break down your beliefs and destroy your faith.
Yeah, she, it's that used trope. You need the virgin or the innocent blood or the innocent person to
Hmm.
feed off of, and they do that pretty well in this story. And so I was there, I was watching it, and for at first it was I was having a hard time picking up on exactly what you were describing. This is the first time that I had ever seen
Hmm.
it, but yes, that is very, very clear in this watching of the movie. It's been a long time since I've watched this movie, also, and we finally get back to Dougie. Rest in peace, Bill Nunn. By the way, the character he plays that character, and we find out he belongs to a government agency. If let me see if I get this right, they're investigating murder under strange circumstances or something along those
Yeah.
along those
Yeah.
lines. And even Kay was like, "Really, really, dude? What we got?" He said, "What do we?" He said, "We got ETs and zombies out here killing
But
people." So,
at this point though, they've done such a good job at showing him bullshit so much. You don't even know if this is true.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I still don't, because once they start working together, he's like, "Well, why don't you basically call somebody else?" And he's like, "Well, no one will believe me." And my first thought is, if you work for a department like this, why wouldn't people believe
Yeah.
you? Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so I thought that was really interesting, and the music in this movie really took me back to the '90s. Steve said, "Yeah, absolutely."
Oh
And
yeah.
speaking of music from the '90s in this movie, um, there are a lot of cultural references that I think would fall flat for somebody who's not seen the movie before or is younger.
Hmm.
So I'm without saying any, I'm going to ask you if you caught any.
You're gonna have to give me a couple more watch. This was literally my first watch. I've seen this movie
Right.
once in
Hmm.
preparation for this. I about 10 years ago, I went through this phase where I was like, I when I got into black exploitation, that's like it was like after the first time I saw Coffee and I started getting into like Rudy Ray Moore. I was kind of watching a lot of like I got into like Boys in the Hood and Poetic
Hmm.
Justice, and definitely found myself trying to connect more to a culture that I didn't understand. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
feel like a lot of the impact of those movies get lost just from lack of experience or lack of understanding like where these movies are coming from. Um and Death by Temptation is I feel like more easy to jump right into because it's not really living or from the perspective of a very particular time, right? Like the success of the movie and the power of the movie is that you have very 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 talented black crew, black actors, black culture on display, and it's done incredibly well, right? Which was especially coming out of the '90s not normal. That was not the norm, right?
At
Hollywood
least
was
at 1990. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So for a movie like this to come out at that time is, I think, the most important conversation to have about the movie is the fact that James Bond III directed the hell out of this. Ernest Dickerson, who made waves in Hollywood at the time, shooting this movie, doing such an incredible job. A movie. I don't think there's not a single white actor in this entire film.
No.
Yeah, not a single one. So there might have been a lot of references I missed just from trying to take in the whole experience and not paying attention to the tiniest of details. But honestly, that's what makes me most excited to go back into it is that I can pay attention and really pick up on a lot more of the smaller stuff. I mean, did I miss a lot on this first watch? Like,
What you missed was you missed a few verbally, and then there was a bunch of cameos
okay,
that
okay.
if you don't know who these people are, you're not gonna pick up.
Yeah,
Um,
outside of Samuel L. Jackson, obviously.
Well, yeah,
You know.
yeah. I neglected to mention that he was even in this movie. Um, I saw somebody on Instagram today or yesterday. They had posted a stack of Samuel L. Jackson movies that they own. It was like 15 movies, and they
Mhm.
had it like in front of their collection. I was like, you could just probably reach in and pull 15 more in 2 seconds
Oh
because
yeah,
he's
yeah.
got movies. But one verbally was right at the beginning. The first guy that gets with the succubus, he is he says a line that became very popular at that time. I'm not sure if you're familiar with BET. Um, so it's still around, but it was
Mhm.
basically it was Black MTV at that point back in the
Yeah.
80s and 90s. And he says a line. He says, "No, my brother, you got to get your own." Well, at that time, what happened? I know you've seen these commercials where they would sell you compilation albums. Basically, it'd be
Yeah.
like Elvis's 20 greatest hits, Motown's greatest hits, whatever it was. So there was a commercial that ran on BET constantly for a collection of slow jams. I think they called it, or it was slow jams.
Okay.
It was like 3 volumes of this, and in the commercial, it's like a bunch of guys. They're standing outside talking about this album, and you got to get this album. And he's telling them everything that's on it. He's like, "Oh, this song and this song and this song." And then at the end, one of the guys goes, "Man, can I borrow your album?" He said, "No, my brother, you got to get your own." So that was a callback to that. That was pretty cool. And like I said, there's a bunch of cameos. The biggest one is probably Melba Moore. She
Okay.
played the psychic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's R&B icon from the 70s and 80s. And Freddie Jackson, also an R&B big R&B star in the 80s, and he actually mentions his song. This was this it's one of the women that Dougie was talking to, and then the guy came in and picked her up. That
Oh,
was
okay. Yeah,
that's
okay.
Freddie Jackson, and he says, "Let's get out of here for old time's sakes." His big hit was for old time's sake. So so it was stuff like that that's happening in the movie.
That's
Um,
awesome, dude. I love learning this shit. That is so cool.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere there's a list of things. I don't know what's on the Wikipedia page, or
Yeah.
probably the IMDb trivia page. I don't know, but there's probably a bunch more. Um, now, as far as the movie far as the movie itself goes, one of the things in a horror movie is like this one. They're trying to be kind of graphic, but they had some budget constraints for sure. And you mentioned this is a trauma film. If I'm not mistaken, this isn't like a pure trauma film, like made by Trauma. I think this is one
Yeah.
they bought
This is
later on.
distributed by Troma. Yeah, Troma
Yeah,
purchased and released. Yep.
yeah. And I'm before I say what I think, how do you think they handled those budget restraints and what they were trying to do?
I'll be honest with you. Cynthia Bond, who plays the Temptress or Temptation as she's called in the movie, um, I don't like it, I don't need her showing everything. She is
Hmm.
incredible in this movie. And I mean, you could definitely see the budget restraints. You could see where they're trying to hold back. I think there's some really good practical effects
Hmm.
as well. I think where you can really feel the budget is in the third act at the very end, the confrontation between Joel and her. That's where I think you really feel kind of some of those constraints because it happens so fast. And there's
Yeah,
some continuity errors, like when the grandmother is held against the wall by the temptress. There's at one point where the temptress's hand is covered in blood, and then it cuts back, and there's no blood at all.
no, yeah,
You know, but I think the true power here is Ernest Dickerson as cinematographer because, dude, there's a moment in particular that I love so much, and um, it's when I believe it's is it Joel who's having the dream of her, and there's a saxophone player. It shows them dancing, and then there's a saxophone player, and the camera zooms out, and she's in bed with him, and the saxophone player's in the back, like in the background
uh, I
playing.
I think that one was Joe because I know Kay had a similar scene.
Maybe it was Kay's dream then. It was just such a great setup and a good way to just kind of like throw interesting imagery in that wasn't overly complicated.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, I don't know, man. I didn't really think much that this was incredibly low budget. I do think there are, and this is again just a power of how to move your camera. There's a lot of long takes. Like there's
Hmm.
a lot of just a camera still and characters are talking where you could tell they didn't really have the time to do multiple camera setups and cut between them.
Right.
But that's smart filmmaking. If you don't have the budget, that's the best way to go about getting the coverage that you need. But I think there are moments like when Kay gets sucked into the TV, spoiler alert, that looks fantastic, dude.
It does. It does.
That looks, especially at the end when he pushes back out and it's kind of the Nightmare on Elm Street Videodrome style imagery.
Hmm.
Um, all of that looks incredible, man. Like I thought it looked fantastic.
Yeah. Um, I was just curious on your take on it, but I agree with you. Uh, they did what they had to do to sell it,
Yeah.
and they sold it pretty well. And you shouted out Ernest Dickerson a few times, and he's one of my favorites. And for people who are not familiar with him, I just kind of pulled up his
Mhm.
filmography, and of course, right off the bat, he lensed a bunch of Spike Lee movies.
Yep.
Um, he also lensed well, this movie, of course. Um, Eddie Murphy Raw is one I want to bring up,
Hmm.
and the reason I want to bring it up is it's a stand-up comic movie. But if you watch it, he makes full use, and he gets Eddie Murphy's complete personality just from the shots that he's using. Because it's not a static camera just at the back of the room like a
Hmm.
lot of stand-up specials are. His camera is he shows up in different places. And so if you've seen Raw, or if you've never seen it, just see it because it's funny, it's hilarious.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
very dated, but still hilarious. But pay attention if you watch it again to what he does with the camera, because he actually does some things that enhance the jokes that Eddie Murphy is telling. Um, it's really interesting because, like I said, most stand up comic specials, especially you see them on Netflix now, they just stick the camera at the back of the room,
Oh
and
yeah.
maybe every once in a while they give you a close up, right? But
Yeah.
he actually does some things to evoke emotion or laughter or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be
Well,
during the film.
what year was Raw?
87, I think.
Yeah,
Let me,
so
let
this
me
was yeah,
yeah,
because we
87.
had was it 87? Okay, yeah, because we were watching yeah, 87. Okay, so this was yeah, he had done okay, yeah, so this was before he directed anything. I was watching my wife and I were watching the Eddie Murphy the award ceremony that they did for him on Netflix.
Yeah, yeah, I
Lifetime
saw that.
Achievement Award.
Yeah.
And he talked very specifically about how he seeked out Ernest Dickerson to direct, or no, Ernest Dickerson talked about how Eddie Murphy came to him and said, "Hey man, why don't you direct my comedy special?" Because at the time they weren't looking to tell any story other than just here's the comedy.
Yep.
Raw changed how you approach comedy specials, and when you watch Raw, it has it just like it doesn't look like a comedy special. It's not treated visually like a comedy special.
No.
It's incredible. It's no wonder that Ernest Dickerson went on to have the film career that he did. He had such an interesting eye. And
Yeah.
especially if you look at like Spike Lee's films are always so visually interesting, and then he gets into Ernest Dickerson gets into horror. And because at first I believe the first movie he directed was Juice,
Hmm.
which Juice also has an incredibly interesting visual style to it. Honestly, man, I think this is just one of those guys that he just has it.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
like any there's no better like when you watch Death by Temptation, you're not going to see a better use of red and blue light. It's as
No.
easy as like haze a room and throw a blue light in. And because his framing for the most part is especially the way he frames inside the temptress's house is very interesting. Her bedroom is usually center framed with the bed,
Right.
and then he shoots the staircase very wide. It gives this very haunting feel, whereas the bar, everything is very tight. It's
Hmm.
all the shots are very close. Even when we do for the first time see that the bar expands and you get to like where she goes to the booth when with the K sequence, it's still shot very tight. There's no wide shots moving around, not like we shoot inside of her house.
Right.
So it's incredibly interesting to see how he does that. And I don't know if that was just like, oh, this is the best way to cover it, or if that was genuinely a creative decision because it works incredibly well.
So let's pretend it's a creative decision. Why do you think he would shoot the bedroom with only two people in it most of the time, wide, and this bar really tight?
I think okay. I should have thought about this before.
No, 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 no. This is something I thought up on the fly to ask since you were speaking on that. So I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I'm just
No,
curious.
you're good. I think honestly the bar to me is the most of the two locations, the bar is the most realistic. Right?
Mm,
This is real. This is a real area for real people. I think that it encompasses almost like a blue collar feeling. Like this is a normal place. There's nothing about this place that's anything more than just it's a bar. This is where people come. This is where people hang out. You're focused more on the people than you are, uh, you know, than you are the location. I think when we enter her territory, suddenly we're entering a place of supernatural entity. Suddenly, we have no choice but to broaden our mind because of the power that she has, and we're still trying to figure that out, right? So the visual imagery on her in her place changes compared to when she leaves her environment and goes into reality. That would probably be my best interpretation of it.
okay, I
Is
like
it?
that interpretation. Yeah.
It does feel like a it feels like a haunted house, right? But it also doesn't feel lived in. This feels like the few times we're in there, most of the time we only see the bedroom. It doesn't feel like a place where somebody has decorated or like created anything too. She just has this really nice bedroom, because that's where all the
Right.
action is. But I do think her place is where we suddenly shift from reality to supernatural.
Hmm.
And I think that could be why. I mean, I could just be bullshitting, to be real,
No, no,
but
no, no.
you know,
Interpretations are just interpretations, and
yeah, yeah.
and that's fine. I those are good interpretations, and I like what you said. It doesn't feel lived in, it, but it feels for me not lived in, but worked in.
Hmm.
This is where I do my work. This
Hmm.
is what I'm here to do. This is my space for that. And the bar and all those things you talked about, blue collar, and just a place where people, you go in there, and there's still pressure in there. And I think that being making it look crowded and tight is, there's the social pressure of you trying to for guys trying to pick up a girl or whatever else is going on in this bar. So I do like
I
those
also
interpretations.
I also think too, I was just sitting here thinking about it. I think the bar gives off a very desperate atmosphere
Yes, absolutely.
because everyone's trying to pick somebody up. Everybody's trying to get something, whereas the moment they enter her house, it's very freeing. It's very much like because she isn't just like for people who haven't seen this movie, she's not just pulling people in to kill them. I mean, she genuinely like has her fun with them. So she is seeking pleasure
Yeah,
before she has her kill, right? So when they leave the environment of desperate, they've already achieved their goal. They don't really need to work as hard to get it because it's been given to them. And when they come into her place, it's now open. So there might be something to that too, because when you shoot tight as viewers, multiple tight shots or things shot feel pressured. It feels like you said, almost like boiler pot. Everything is so small and we're so tight on things and we're so focused on things. And then when it finally opens up, it feels like you have some room to breathe.
yeah,
Like, oh wow,
yeah,
look at this. Okay, yeah, I feel better now. I can see more of my environment. So that could also be part of it.
yeah. Um, Big Mac said it's on Amazon Prime. It is also on Tubi. I'm not sure if on Prime if you got to pay for it or not, but I know Tubi it's free. Um, of course, ads. Sorry.
I say, listen, I say pick up the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray and
Yeah, that's what I
enjoy
say.
the incredible the career spanning James Bond III audio interview that's on the disc, man. It's incredible.
I I knew him from. I mean, he appeared in School Days, but I really knew him from a movie that he was in when he was much younger, called "The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh." Um,
Okay.
it's a basketball movie that Dr. J was the star.
Okay.
It's I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but it is all sorts of fun. And just to give you the basic premise is that the team that Dr. J is on is terrible, and they hire this kid played by James Bond, or this kid's a friend of Dr. J, so he's kind of hanging around the team, and they kind of hire him. And there's also a psychic involved,
Mhm.
and she realizes that the star player played by Dr. J is a Pisces fish, so they set out trying to get all players who are all Pisces.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was very fun. It's dumb, but very fun. Um, for anybody looking for a basketball movie out there. All right. Anything else on this particular movie that we didn't talk about that you would like to?
There's some pretty underdeveloped but very effective religious imagery in this,
Yes.
especially in that final act. It does. I do wish the movie did kind of lean into like pressuring him on his faith a little bit more.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I wish there was a little bit of like him maybe having a moment where he's kind of maybe convinced to move away from his beliefs and his faith. We don't really get the time, or maybe it's budgetary constraints to explore that. I think that would have made Joel's character a lot more intriguing if there was this moment of like, hey, wait, am I really going to do this? Instead, the movie just reinforces his beliefs, and why he
Hmm.
needs to pursue this even further. Um, and to be real with you, man, I threw this on and had no idea. Like the only reason I knew of this was because of In Search of Darkness. I believe it was 90. Yeah, In Search of Darkness 90s, the documentary
Hmm.
briefly talked about this because Ernest Dickerson is all over those documentaries, and I was like, man, how have I never heard of this? Like, how did I? And I had just a complete blast, like from beginning to end. This movie is so much fun, and you could tell that James Bond III is a movie nerd.
Oh yeah.
Like he loves this shit, dude. This movie sends homage to so many different genres and
Yes.
filmmakers, and
Yeah.
you can pick up on all of that. It wears it on its sleeve, and I I actually think honestly the trauma of it all actually kind of hurts this movie because I think this is of higher quality than most trauma releases.
Yeah. You know what? For me, the only place I really felt the trauma was the kind of outrageous makeup that we got towards the end of the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Uh,
Outside of
it,
that, though, the rest of this movie is treated of much higher standard than most trauma productions.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So
Trauma's got some rough stuff. So
yeah, for
lots
sure. I
of
mean,
fun stuff as
I
well.
love the Toxic Avenger, but
Oh
outside
yeah,
of that, I mean, there's some rough there's some rough stuff there.
oh yeah. If you like schlock sleaze, go watch some trauma movies. They're lots of fun. They're just not high art. That's
Yeah, very true, very true.
yeah, yeah. But I agree though. They could have spent some more time testing his faith. They kind of did it for a few brief moments. After he meets the Temptress,
Hmm.
and when Kay's kind of getting on him about, well, that wasn't milk in your glass. It didn't look like milk in your glass, and he's like, well, it wasn't alcohol either. And that was kind of where they decided that our main character is definitely 100% pure.
Hmm.
He's gonna be that no matter
Yeah.
what. But it might have been more interesting to um, go down that path. What about Samuel L? We talked about Samuel L. Jackson briefly. What about him in this movie?
I think this is pre Jurassic Park. Sam, this is
Yeah.
3 years before Jurassic Park. Samuel L. Jackson. Um, I think he's great when he shows up. He shows up as Joel's father or supposed father.
Yeah.
Um, I just think it's a little undercooked. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like I didn't really. He is just kind of typical Samuel L. Jackson, and I think he's actually most effective in the sequences in the church.
Yeah.
When he's preaching. But it does just kind of feel like a last minute, sort of like the grandmom. It is sort of just thrown in last minute. It feels like it didn't really have enough time to really make it make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's great.
I think you mentioned that it's kind of undercooked. So one of my issues watching it this time as compared to before is that, and you mentioned he's like paying homage to all these different genres, and I get that he's doing that throughout the movie, but it doesn't necessarily flow smoothly from one scene
Yeah,
to the next.
it doesn't.
And yeah, I think a little more time writing it would have went a long way.
I also think Samuel L. Jackson. I think this is the role he looks the oldest in, which is funny because this is the youngest we've ever seen him.
That's interesting. I didn't pick up on that at all, but yeah, that's interesting. He's
I
one of
was
those
like,
guys who never looks young.
I was like, how old was Samuel L. Jackson in this? Holy shit!
Yeah, it's the same in 'cause I want to say this is the same year as Coming to America, and he had a brief part in there.
Yeah,
And yeah, he's one of those guys. He's looked 60 years old his whole life.
it's like when you look at Die Hard and Bruce Willis is my age. I'm like, how the hell were we the same? I look like a child compared to you at my like,
Yeah,
just different,
yeah,
dude.
yeah. He's that way. Morgan Freeman seems to be
Yeah,
that
he is.
way,
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
and it's just certain guys that, hey, that's what it is. All right, so let me get your overall thoughts on Death by Temptation.
Yeah, I think that this is kind of I think this is an incredibly interesting transition point between 80s and 90s horror. I love that this movie was able to come out and be so culturally relevant. I think that it's interesting that this was James Bond III's really only directorial project. From what I've heard and what he's talked about, I listened to a few interviews with him. He was incredibly stoked with how this movie came out. And while it was kind of under received or didn't get the attention that it really deserved, I think this is the power of physical media is being able to rediscover this stuff remastered and put back on shelves for people to discover. I think it's a lot of fun. I think this is a movie that's very atmospheric. It's very sexy, and it's very challenging in a lot of ways. It doesn't shy away from some sensitive material, and it's a mishmash of a lot of different stuff. It feels like a vampire movie. It feels like a creature feature. It feels like a good little character drama. I'm so stoked that I did this for this episode, man, because I think this is going to be a favorite of mine going forward, man. This movie is a lot of fun.
Cool, cool. It is that. I agree with you wholeheartedly because, like I said, it had been a while since I've seen. I had seen it a few times, 90, 91, 92, in
Hmm.
that area. And it's one of those movies that, if you look up lists of greatest black movies, it was a pretty long list, especially black horror movies. It's on the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
And if you watch the documentary that Scream Factory did a few years ago. Was it Scream? No, Shutter. Sorry, Shutter. Shutter did a documentary a few years ago called Horror Noir. It was
Hmm.
basically a history of black horror films, and they talk about this movie there. So it's definitely gained a cult following.
Yeah.
Um, but it's one of those things where if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. You have no
Yeah.
clue on it.
It's pretty like I remember when I went on Letterbox to log it, I was like, that's it. Like I remember looking at the reviews and I was like, that's not many people have seen like not as many people as I thought would have seen this because it feels like by now most of us diehard horror fans would have discovered this at some point, but it still feels kind of tucked away. You know what I mean?
It is, and you mentioned the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray that I showed here. It's the release of this actually gave it a little bit of boost because
Hmm.
there are people out there who just collect everything Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah.
And so when this came out, I was like, oh, what the hell is this? And they bought it and watched it. So that was cool. Um, but yeah,
I think this
glad.
is a perfect example of a movie that needs a 4K release
Mhm.
just to get a modern conversation going on it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Uh, or even if it's not a 4K or a Criterion, because
Yeah.
that also spurs the conversation. I don't know if this is. I don't think this is the kind of movie would do, but you know, they did. That's happened with Cooley High. It happened with last year.
Mhm.
It was a movie that was just strictly, for lack of a better term, a black movie. You know, it was a classic for many black people, black household. But outside of that, outside of us, Cooley High, what the hell is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things do spur the conversation. And I'm going backwards a bit. You talked about the Blues and the Reds in this movie, um, comparable to Giallo, also.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, I think that that's what Italian horror is known for, is the pretty brash neon imagery.
Hmm.
So I think it is. And I think too, for budgetary reasons, like a lot of movies try to do this color palette and they just don't know how to shoot it. I think Ernest Dickerson just knows how to shoot it and to do it well. Um, I think anymore people think like, oh, if I just splash them red and blue, like, look, I'm stylistic. That's not what's happening here. I think
Right.
it's very, very purposeful how they do it. And I actually have, it should be out on Monday. I have a reel that I made on Instagram about showcasing some of the moments of use of color in this movie. And
Okay.
I'm hoping more than anything that some of the 7,000 people who follow me on there, somebody will not know what this movie is and seek it out and find it, because I think that's what's most important. And I hope people even from this go and find this movie and talk about it, because we could be the ones to re-spark this thing, man, you know?
Yeah, and I that is one of the things I like about doing YouTube is, every once in a while somebody will just say, "Hey, man, I never heard of this movie,
Mhm.
and I checked it out and I really liked it." Or even if they didn't like it, it's like, I got you to watch this movie. I'm good for the day whenever
Yeah.
anybody says that to me.
Yeah.
And it's we're here for the love of cinema, so we want to spread it around and get
Yep.
as many people watching as possible. We're gonna go ahead and land the plane here, guys. Um, if you've not seen Death by Temptation, if you've not seen Dress to Kill, go watch both. See what you think about them. Come back, let me know, or check out Chris's channel, let him know, and keep a conversation going that way. For everyone who's in the chat, I got a lot of YouTubers. Go ahead and subscribe to them. And of course, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to my guest, and I'm going to turn the stage over to him. Tell us where they can find you, what you have going on, or anything else you want to push.
Yeah, yeah. So always on Instagram at Bearded Film Guy over there. Um I also co-host a podcast called Beyond the Blood, where me and my best friend Steve from After Hours Video, we break down horror movie audio commentaries. So weekly we have episodes coming out over there. Also my buddy Jordan over at the Movie Den and I have a show called The Fireside Collection, where every week we just break down and talk about movies that we've been buying and watching and all kinds of stuff. So you can always catch me on both those. Those are available wherever podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. But yeah, mostly over on Instagram anymore. There is a YouTube revival coming. It's just not ready yet, so it'll be here soon.
Okay, cool. I will definitely go check out the podcast because I'm always looking for a new podcast to listen to.
Thank you.
You find one and you burn through all the episodes and you're waiting for the next one. So I will definitely check yours out.
I appreciate
Thanks
that,
for coming on, man.
dude. Thank you so much, man. I love that. I love this so much, man. So, this was an incredible conversation. I'm always down to come back whenever you need somebody.
Yeah, let's do it again. And same goes if you ever want somebody to guest on your channel or podcast or whatever it is, just let me know. We'll
Of
figure it all
course.
out.
Yeah, of course, man. Always.
All right. Well, wait, there were a couple comments that came in. I'm guessing these are of the good night or variety. Let's see who we got up here down at the bottom. Yep, great stream, y'all. Thank you, Steve. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Big Mac, also a great show. And we already had that one. And
Oh, thank you.
following. All right, cool. Cool. All right, that's it, guys. We're going to let you go. Have a good night. Watch more movies and come back and check us both out. Bye.